All right, so this is one of the first updates on the Frog vr6 turbo build. Actually, we shouldn't call it this way. We should call it the development for the kit to put VR5 and VR6 engines with a 6-speed manual or DSG gearbox into Mach 3 MR2 Spider or Roadster. I have to say I've changed my mind. What I want to achieve on this is exactly the same what we have for the 1.8 20 valve. So you can have bare minimum like engine mounts and the drive shafts, and then a lot of people can do their own stuff, or buy the whole lot and be able to fit one of those engines in a weekend. This is what we have for the 1.8s, and now we actually we are gonna do the wiring looms as well, so everything is gonna be plug and play literally. You can you can, I'm not joking, you can actually do the engine swap in a weekend, because you can remove one of these engines in 2 or 3 hours, and the rest of the weekend you put 1.8, plug it in literally and drive off for mapping, because every engine will need to be finely tuned. The VR6 is going to be slightly more difficult because, and don't take me wrong, I'm not taking this as a downside, as something very bad, but you have to remove the bulkhead. Now, you have to, because I fitted the engine in the right position. The right position, which I think is right position, and that comes from my experience and the geometry and the balance and all the stuff. So it's not the preferences, how easy it fits, because I spent quite a lot of time to find the right position, and it is. Because the engine is, this is considerably heavier than the standard engine, and you have to be careful how you distribute this, because the engine position will dictate the dynamics of the car, and you can use it to your advantages or disadvantages. If we put it in the wrong position, it may, make the car handle slightly worse. If we put it in the right position, it may make the car handle slightly better, especially if we increase the power by a lot, like a lot. When we start talking over 500 brakes, having something a little bit heavier, but in the right position, it may actually help you. But we get into that later on. Anyways, I've changed my mind about these engines. Like I said, I think the 1.8 20 valve turbo engines are the Volkswagen engines. They are the perfect swap for this engine, for this car. And I still, stand with what I said. They fit good, they fit easily, and they make a lot of power for little money. You change the rods, like Steve did, very basic build, and you have 500 brakes. And trust me, 500 brakes in this is like 700-800 brakes in something much more heavier. This is what people don't understand. The car handles the power very well. We've been through this already. We talk about this. There's no point now. Let's go back to the VR6. I was skeptical about this engine, how big and heavy it's gonna be. Well, first impressions when it arrived, it's not as big and it's not as heavy as I was expecting it to be, which is good. Still bigger than 1.8, but not much. It's only longer by 30 millimeters. It's strange, but it is. 6-cylinder is only 30 millimeters longer than the 4-cylinder. And the 4-cylinder 1.8 20 valve is a narrow engine, it's not a big engine, so that says a lot. This 6-cylinder engine is actually as long as many 4-cylinder engines, so it tells you a lot. The gearbox is quite heavy than the normal 6-speed. However, I think at these levels of power, DSG may actually help you quite a lot, so I'm sticking with the DSG this time. As much as I prefer the manual, but again, like I said before, it all depends on applications and preferences. Now the engine, it's exactly what it's supposed to be. I've worked on this last night a little bit more. I worked on this an hour this morning as well, and I have it exactly as I want it, to the single half a degree. There is no half a degree. It's spot on. The engine sits completely level to probably a tenth of a degree. If there's any mistake, that's probably if my levers and my gauges maybe they're off by something, but part of that is absolutely perfect. Completely square and as much forward as we can. However, I want to show you one thing, because a lot of people are gonna be scared, obviously, of cutting on the bulkhead or making the window, as the previous you say, that you have to. You could hammer it out, but it wouldn't make sense. Just make a window in the bulkhead like many people do with the V6s swaps and Hyper K20s when you have big plenums and all that stuff. You need extra space. We came up with something different, with a slightly different idea. Well, similar idea, but make it be more drastic, but makes the life easier and actually make the stuff much cooler and looking pretty good in my eyes. Do you remember the Clio's V6 rear engine ones? They come as standard. They have the engine lid just behind the seats. I was like, ooh, yeah, of course they have. Let's do that instead of making a small window, a small lid to access particular parts of the engine that is not easily or is not possible to access from the front. I was like, you know what? How about we cut the whole bulkhead or majority of it, so we have the access to everything with a massive, just make everything extremely simple to work with. And guess what? As much as you will be happy about 1.8 when you have, you can work on the engine from the top, from the back, and you can remove the plenums, aftermarket ones, standard ones. You can change the oil filter, you can put your hands there, you can remove the alternator, and it's great. And you have the access for that. Much easier than the standard 1cc engine. But now we managed to have the vr6 engine in and be able to work on it even easier. Let me show you. Now, first of all, I want to show you the idea, what we want to do, how this is supposed to look when it's finished. Yes, so? Nicely carpeted, massive lid. So I'm not going to make a lid for the engine, like a cover the engine a bit more, because it doesn't need much. I'm going to show you in a second. What we're going to do, actually what I already did, is cut a massive hole. I'll just almost I'll probably remove 3/4 of the bulkhead and just make a different engine compartment. Simple. Like the Clios. They have it behind the seats, a massive cover, and that is your engine compartment. Inside the engine compartment, you're going to have a lot more stuff. Now, and I think this, let me close the door, looks pretty cool. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but I really like it. Obviously, it's not going to be exactly the same. This is actually the original part that goes there. I just flipped it upside down, and it gave me this idea. However, it doesn't have to be here. It could be probably on the angle from here, so it's easier to remove, and slightly lower. This is too high. We can have it slightly lower. The reason for that, because I want this car, and I want obviously all the cars, because again, this is not one-off. This is the stuff that has to go in production. The soft top has to be able to fit here when it's folded back, because guess what? I do like this car with the soft top. I know that hard top, like Steve has, hello Queen, it looks much better on these cars. They look really good with the hard top on. But I do like, the soft top that you can remove it, you can put it back. My wife loves it, my daughter likes it, and only for that reason I will leave it on. Even if I do prefer the look of the hard top, blah blah. But I want the possibility of, having this when we have those 3 days of sunshine in UK. Anyways, let me remove it and show you what I'm talking about here. You see the alternator is only about 2 inches inside the bulkhead, so possibly you could just hammer the shit out of this, to be honest, and be able to fit this. But then anything that you have to work on the front here, it would have to be pretty much engine out. Although it's quite easy to put these engines out, come on, this is a much better option. Now, on the bottom there, I cut all the bulkhead till the floor. You cannot chop that off. Do not use your anger on that. That is structural. That is part of the frame, part of the chassis. That is a big cross member which is fused inside the chassis legs. That is structural. This stuff, it doesn't matter. This is floppy. This is tin can. This is, you can move it as much as you want. Just remove all of it if you want to. It doesn't really matter. But not the bottom section. That is your chassis. Do not touch that one. Anyways, we can see how much space we have now to work on everything. I mean, boost pipes, cooling system, you starter motor, you oil filter, you oil filler cap, which this one I can actually move it from here to here, but if you're not, if you don't want to do it, you can leave it here. I think I'm gonna leave it here. What else? The plenum, the injectors, the fuel system, the alternator, the alternator belt. Although the alternator belt, you don't have to. There's plenty of space here to put your hands in there and work on it. So that's great. So this is what I'm talking about of the bulkhead. You see, it doesn't really stick out that much. But if you remove this and you have just a bigger engine compartment, this is great. Now for this instance, we're gonna go big parts. We're gonna have a fuel cell. The fuel swirl pod. The fuel system is gonna be quite big, and I can put everything in here because all of this is gonna be one big engine compartment. I don't need that space. Groceries, I put them in the front where the spare wheel used to be, or in the front here or behind the seats. There's still plenty of space. I mean, if you're looking to build a high performance car, who cares about a little bit of space lost for groceries? I mean, really? Anyways, so that's good. The good news is that the engine sits as far forward as you can. You see there? That's, about 5-6 mil. That's all we need. And that mount has to be redesigned. Actually, let me talk about the mounts. So one mount is ready. That one is exactly the same as 1.8, which keeps the gearbox in the same position. This one, although looks very similar, but it's completely different than 1.8. And that is a prototype. It is finished. Back here, obviously, is misaligned a little. This is not the one we sell. This is a prototype we used to use before. I modified it again. Our final product is actually quite thicker, and this needs a few tweaks. And the one I show you in the front obviously needs to be redesigned. But this morning, actually, with now a bit of tweaking and checking and just making 100% sure with everything, measure tapes, and engine is exactly what we want it to be. I've checked all the spaces. We have space for everything very comfortably. I'm ready to design the engine mounts. So I think now we are gonna have to laser cut the new bunch, new set of engine mounts for the 1.8, and I think we're gonna throw these ones in. So I think with the new stock of 1.8, when you have engine mounts kit, we're gonna have the VR5 and VR6 engine mount kit already. I think it's gonna be a few weeks, no longer than that. Honestly, we are that close. So this is good news. Obviously, for now, the kit is gonna consist of engine mounts and the drive shafts and the charge cooler. Because then it depends on what you want to do. This is another thing. Imagine this engine. All right, we were talking with Steve, and we love turbos. We have a good friend of mine, which is Andrew, that we built the 1.8 one, and he loves NA engines, and he's gonna hate me for this. He's probably gonna do it. He loves, that kind of power, which he's currently only having about 250, 260 brakes on his one, because he didn't go for mapping yet. He's still on the base map. Not base map. It's a right map, but it's not refined, so about 250. He can see definitely very close to 300, but he's okay with that because he drives very good, it's very linear, he's torquey enough and all that stuff. He loves NAs. Now imagine this engine now, which sits behind your seat, on individual throttle bodies with a nice exhaust, put some gnarly cams in this, revving to 9,000 RPMs, and producing around up to 300 brakes, which I think is fairly possible. Cams, exhaust, throttle bodies, proper engine management. 300 brakes is no problems. Highway revving. This will be a proper, the ultimate, one of the best pure driving experience cars. Just pure enjoyment, not to scare the shit out of you like this will be, but purely enjoyment. And I thought I'm never gonna say this, but I think I would like one as well. The vr6 stuff, although it's heavier, but it's just for pure experienced driver. On throttle bodies behind my head, enclosing this big engine compartment, resonating, not tin foil resonating, but nice deep resonation from the throttle bodies with this rumble at 9,000 RPMs. But then we'll have to be with the, not the ESG, but manual, in my opinion. You can keep the ESG if you want to, absolutely, but I think manual in that case will be awesome because they're really good, these manuals. I think this is it. So, good news. The progress is going forward very quickly. But now I have to get back to work because I think today I have to produce 2 or 3 exhaust systems and finally put the OBD pod on this wiring room, which is ready to send, and also the other wiring room is ready to send to the customer as well. But I think he's ordering more stuff, so he's gonna wait because we have to pack more stuff to him. But that's all. So there you go. Really good. The 1.8 stuff is going back to stock, all the mounts and the systems, so we have more stuff. We got plenty of cooling system, fuel systems ready to be shipped, and a lot of stuff. So that's great. That's really good. And obviously you've probably noticed something going on here between the turbo and the manifold. I was thinking to use my awesome, very nice stainless merge collector 6-in-2, but you know what, it's gonna be too much time. This manifold here is not a great one, but it's not the worst one. I'm gonna keep it. Fuck it. This is gonna stay. I just don't have a time. So plus I kind of like it. It's nice and compact, strong, troubleless. It's fine. I've seen people making over 1,000 brakes with much worse exhaust manifolds. This is the beauty of these engines. They make huge power because they're not efficient engines around 1.8. This is the truth. But they make huge amount of just brute force, brute power with whatever you throw at them. I've seen absolutely horrible exhaust manifolds, even worse intake plenums, and they still make huge amount of power, and they live quite a long life. What is this? Piece of tooth. Anyways, that's enough for now. I see you probably next week.